Welcome back into Studio B and welcome to this introduction to Yin Yoga that is all about the hips today. So as we've been doing every week, we're going to be doing 3 poses that really target the hips. But we're going to chat about the hips for just a few moments before we drop into our first shape. So there are 4 main compartments of the hips. So the first of these is kind of like the quads and the hip flexors on the front of the hips. The second is this like inner groin region, which is, and then you've got the outer, that is the third. These are abductors and adductors, those 2. And then the back, you've got the hamstrings, which we sometimes forget are actually part of the hip, but the hamstrings run underneath the pelvis and all the way down the length of the legs. So when we talk about creating a sequence of postures that's going to target the hips, we want to try and target as many of those compartments as we can in that sequence. So we're going to hit most out of those 4 compartments today with the 3 poses that we're going to do. The other thing that I will say is that the body, as we talked about in weeks 1 and 2, really responds to whatever your lifestyle is. So if the way you traditionally orient your hips is seated in a chair with the thighs parallel at that 90-degree hinge, and you very rarely take the legs out to the side or are externally rotating, the body's going to get really normalized to that one position, and it actually will start to lose some of its natural range of motion. Because the hip socket is actually a ball and socket joint. So you've got the femur bone that has that rounded part at the top that actually sits in the acetabulum, or the sort of rounded head of the pelvis. And it's able to move in all these directions. That's how we're designed. But if we only move the hips in 1 or 2 directions, walking, running, sitting, then the body it loses its access to a lot of its natural range of motion. So that's where Yin Yoga comes in, because as we stay in the postures for a period of several minutes, we really relax the muscles, get into that connective tissue and the fascia. We can start to restore that natural range of motion that we might have forfeited a little bit due to our lifestyle. So we are going to start in probably my favorite Yin posture of all, because it is a jack of all trades. And that is half butterfly. So I'm going to stay facing you today so you can really see these shapes quite clearly. For half butterfly, we have the half butterfly wing with the right leg, and then the left leg is extended out long. And you're going to kind of turn the torso just ever so slightly to face that extended leg, and then start to fold yourself forward. And whenever the body naturally stops, that's where it would be a good position to bring a prop in to kind of meet you there. And then, as we often do, you might immediately just remind the body that the muscles can relax here. So you could soften the sole of that left foot. If that left leg wants to kind of fall open in a slight external rotation, there's no need to resist that. You let it happen. And the beauty of this half butterfly position is that we are targeting multiple compartments of the hips simultaneously. We're really accessing the left hamstring and the entire length of that left leg. Also encouraging a gentle external hip rotation in the right hip. And so you may just notice for yourself what part of the body is most present for you right now. And just remind yourself you're not trying to change the body at all,
but instead you're just spending some time. You're developing a relationship with a part of the body that might need a little attention. Giving yourself about 2 more breaths here. And then slowly lifting the head, using your hands to walk back up and in.
Maybe pausing for a breath or two upright. And then before we do the second side, we're actually going to do our second shape, which is, I'm going to give you 2 options actually. So you're going to take this right leg that's in the butterfly wing and you're going to cross it over the extended left leg. And we're attempting to get the right knee on top of the left knee here, okay? So this is half shoelace position. You could stay here to do the forward fold. If you're interested in full shoelace, you're going to bend the left knee in as well. So I'll face you so you can see this. There's a full crossing, one knee over the other, and you'll probably immediately feel, okay, now we're in this compartment on the outside of the hips. And for some of us, it's enough to just sit upright and breathe in a relaxed way. For some people, even sitting upright is too much. You might even lean back into the hands if this is really intense. And then other people find that there's some space to start to explore, just gently folding forward. Noticing sometimes when there's intensity of sensation in the body, that can creep into other areas. So check in with the jaw, the eyes, the forehead. Notice if the muscles of the glutes are trying to sort of pick you up, and see if you can let those soften and sort of puddle on whatever surface you're sitting on. I came across a poem this last week. It was written by the Colorado Poet Laureate of 2020. The title of the poem was Nothing Left. But there was one particular stanza in the poem that has really stood out to me this week, and I've really found it to be a resource in my own practice. And so I'll share that stanza with you in practice today. When there is nothing left to do but live, I'll make a vacation of my body. Everywhere that I visit, a stamp on my passport. Less than a minute to go here, just noticing how the body has responded to just staying here. Just letting yourself witness the body shifting and opening as we just trust it to do its thing while we stay here and breathe. We'll start to take our time. If you were folded forward, lifting upright. And then being really gentle as you remember, this is called shoelace. So it's like unlacing shoelaces. And for me, I often find just a little bit of windshield wipers can feel really nice here. And then we'll start to set up the half butterfly on the second side. So the right leg is going to extend out. The left leg will come in like that half butterfly swing. And I'm gonna go ahead and remind myself I don't need to flex my foot. It can relax. If it wants to fall out, so be it. And then having whatever prop you want handy, starting to fold forward. What I love about the stanza of this poem is, well, there are a number of things, but the first is just the reminder of when there is nothing left to do but live. Particularly in our yin yoga practice, we often arrive having been productive throughout the day or checking off items on a to-do list. We've been accomplishing and doing all day. And so the simple reminder that the only goal of this practice is to be a living body while you're in it is really helpful. And this image that the body could be a vacation. Thinking of how you feel in your body when you're on vacation. You sleep when you want to sleep. You play when you want to play. There's a sense of ease and joy at being in the body when you're on vacation. There is nothing left to do but live. Make a vacation of your body. Giving yourself about 30 more seconds to just live in the pose, breathing completely. And then again, we take that slow exit, knowing that the tissues of the body actually take time, if you notice, sometimes you can actually feel the pose sort of rewinding itself out of the body. And then as you're ready, this time, the left leg will be on top. So left knee over right, knowing you could pause here. And then if you wanted the full, then the right bends as well. Off. And then as much as you can, really trying to kind of feel the sits bones find the floor. Particularly with this, the top leg, whatever hip point that is, tends to be a little bit more elevated. So let it melt down. And then deciding, where do you need to be? Where's that Goldilocks position? Not too much, not too little. Because we know that as the pose marinates, it's going to get more intense. Just as the words of that poem suggest to us, as we approach the body as if it were a vacation, we begin to explore the body with a sense of awe, a sense of joyful anticipation at what we might find. Every place that we visit in the body, like a stamp on a passport. A marker that we've been there, we've paid attention. We've noticed whatever was present in that place in the body and made note of it. Knowing that there is no place in the body that is not worth visiting, that all of your body is good and worthy. And then again, making that mindful approach to lift the upper body if you had folded forward. Pausing for a moment. And then we're actually going to take like a 1-minute miniature Shavasana before our last pose. So taking that opportunity to extend the legs and the arms and come onto the back for like a full body reset briefly. Just a reminder that a rest is a critical part of the practice. So giving the body a brief rest to integrate those couple of poses that we just completed. And as we prepare to come up, you might extend the arms overhead, just giving a little bit of a stretch. And then rolling to one side, picking yourself up as we prepare for the final pose of today's practice, which can be quite intense. It's really focused in the groin and the inner thigh area. This is frog pose. And I'm going to provide stages. So you can think of this like a long hallway with multiple sets of double doors. And you can decide like, okay, I'm going to chill in this part of the hallway. This is good. I don't want to go through the next set of doors. So we start in what I call tadpole position, which looks a lot like a wide-kneed child's pose. So the big toes are touching and the knees are as wide as you can comfortably get them. So much wider than a traditional child's pose. And the hips are just settled back on the heels, okay? So the first option is to keep the legs like this and come forward onto the forearms and be here in tadpole position, okay? And you might already feel, okay, this is where we're going in the body. We're going to that inner thigh, groin region. Now the next corridor of this hallway, we would move the forearms forward a bit and slide the pelvis forward so that the hips are in line with the knees. So I now have like a triangle of my big toes together, but my knees and my hips are in a straight line. And this again could be a place that you stop and commit to your breathing. The third corridor would be to flex the feet, slide the shins away from each other so that you now have a right angle at the knee joint. Like you have the three edges of a square at this point. Yeah, that's it. Beautiful. And then the fourth and final corridor, while keeping the pelvis level without letting it float upwards, to slowly glide the pelvis back as if you were going to make the legs and the pelvis in the shape of a capital M. We're gonna stay here for about 90 more seconds, a minute and a half. Just making a mental note of where you are visiting the body. Making sure that breath is with you. In particular, paying close attention to the sense of your exhale. As we prepare to start to reverse, we will do so as mindfully as we came in. So if you chose to separate the shins, begin to return the big toes towards each other. And then start to walk the hands back with the hips coming back towards the heels. And then you can just a little bit at a time draw the legs back in. And then shift forward onto all fours. And you might find there's some intuitive movement. For me, it often feels really good to just sway the pelvis from side to side, feeling into actually the outer edges of my legs a little bit because the inner region just got really opened. And now we will prepare to come into our final relaxation position. And particularly working with the hips, it can feel really nice to have some support under the backs of the legs. So you might want to bring in the support of the bolster underneath the knees. And just letting the body settle onto the mat. You might direct the awareness to the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet and release any of the tension there. Directing the awareness to the ears, releasing any connection to sound. Bringing the awareness to the eyes, resting heavily in the eye sockets, relaxing the sense of sight. Resting the tongue inside of the mouth. Releasing any tension in the pelvis. A reminder that the body is worthy of rest. As you're ready, you can allow subtle movement to re-enter the body, a deepening of the breath, and then in your own way and your own time, guiding the body back upright to a seated position. Pausing for a moment just to reflect on how the body and the mind feel now. We'll either bring the hands to the body as a gesture of gratitude for its participation in the practice, or if it feels natural to you to bring the palms of the hands together, that's another option. Dropping the chin slightly, just in gratitude and humility for the practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace.